What is going on, guys? It is your boy TKD. Want you to here back again with another episode of Road to Part 2 with my luxurious co-host, the Starks. How you doing? Good morning.
I'm well.
It is.
I'm well. How about you, sir?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Had an early start to the morning. You know what I'm saying? But we good. We all right. I'm seeing Far From Home tonight. That's nice.
Sweet.
It'd be a nice out on the town with the old friends. You know, should be nice.
Yeah.
But that is not the topic of discussion here. We are talking about The Last of Us Part 2. And this is, of course, the weekly series called Road to Part 2, where we cover any and all things Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2 leading up to the release of Last of Us Part 2. And so, we have done some of the topics in the past. Make sure to go check out the playlist. There's a playlist here on YouTube, as well as if you are interested in listening to this on a podcast format, we have a link down below in the description where you can go to our Anchor public site and be able to view a bunch of links to other podcast services that we post on the PlayStation Source podcast feed. So that could be the Cross Struggle podcast, which those are on the podcast feed, as well as this series right now, Road to Part 2. If you'd rather listen to this in the audio format in the car, grinding out a game, etc. So make sure to listen to those if you are interested in listening in a podcast format and just the audio format only. And so today's episode, we're covering low-key one of the, honestly, I would credit this mode and this part of Last of Us to it being the reason why it is still played by a lot of people to this day. You know what I'm saying? While, of course, the story is seminal, of course, it is a 10 out of 10 story, of course, it is, the masterpiece that it is, right? What's another, I think, in my eyes, masterpiece of Last of Us is actually the multiplayer. It's the factions mode. That's the topic here at hand today. And just, Starks, if you have any thoughts about, factions, because I am pretty new to it. I started playing it more on a regular basis around 3-4 months ago and stuff like that. And, I'm not going to brag, but I have seen a drastic improvement, in my factions, you know what I'm saying? But you have played it for a lot more, right? You have played for a lot more.
Yeah, I've been playing it since 2014, so a year after its release. And I jumped onto factions obviously late because, well, not necessarily late, but a year after the game's release. And it took me a while to really get the hang of things. And once I got the hang of things, oh boy, woo, that multiplayer is fire, honestly. And I'm now actually, like, this is the first time in my 5-year experience that I've actually been playing around with certain guns. But no, I absolutely agree. Like, multiplayer is one of the it's actually probably one of my favorite multiplayers. I know I love Uncharted 3's multiplayer, but I think this is my all-time favorite multiplayer game. I
mean, here's what I'll say, and I've been saying this for years at this point, right? And that is that in terms of, I think overall this generation, but especially on the PS4 side, right? We'll just speak just more vaguely. Overall in this gen, I feel like multiplayer has suffered other than Battle Royale. I feel like the biggest multiplayer component of this generation, this being the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, obviously, and the Switch generation of consoles, I feel like the main focal point of multiplayer during this gen has been Battle Royale, of course, with Fortnite, Apex Legends, PUBG, etc. Right? So, like, I feel like the overall multiplayer shift and focus is on Battle Royale. And it's kind of taking a step back from the traditional, TDM, right, team-based type of multiplayer games and stuff like that. But I feel like, especially, it is truthful in that statement when we look at PlayStation exclusives. I feel like I think out of all the PS4 exclusives that came out this generation, like, I cannot think of a better multiplayer that has come out other than Last of Us. Right. I feel like Last of Us is the last really good multiplayer for the PlayStation first party exclusive, type of pool. And I think I honestly feel like there was Uncharted 4 multiplayer, which is pretty good, and then there was Killzone Shadowfall as well. Remember that? I can't think of any other ones. I'm sure there are, but I just feel like none of them have that same quality or the same type of grab as Factions does, at least for me. Yeah.
Like, there's definitely things that Uncharted 4 did well, but the overall execution of Uncharted 4, and don't get me wrong, I really enjoy Uncharted 4 and I play it very actively, but there's a lot of things from that multiplayer that just didn't click, as opposed to Factions, the Last of Us Factions,
Right.
which came out 6 years ago. And the first thing is its simplicity, right? Factions is a very simple like game, and it's very slow, and that's actually one of the criticisms a lot of people have with Factions multiplayer, is the fact that it's very slow paced. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, I think in a previous episode, but I said that I think Naughty Dog is trying to change that, have two different play styles more, because from the gameplay demo we saw it a little bit more quicker and fast paced, but then we also saw some stealth and slow. So yeah, I think that's going to be really cool to see how that might play out in multiplayer. But
I mean just to gush on, you know, I think we should probably start with like why we like Factions, and then we'll go into like, you know, what we want to change about it. Because like me personally, you know, I do feel like Factions is a mode, at least, you know, again, I still consider myself new to Factions. I don't consider myself a savant or some sort of, you know, really skilled player, stuff like that. I think that's more Starks in this conversation. But at least from my point of view, as someone that has started fresh recently, right? I feel like Factions multiplayer is slow purposefully, right? Like I feel like, you know, the game puts you on listen mode when you sprint to kind of deter you from playing it like a run and gun Call of Duty type style, where like Call of Duty, you know, you can be successful either being aggressive or being slow and methodical, right? But I feel like generally and I know we've talked about this as well, right? But I feel like generally speaking, if you are trying to run and gun and rush and be aggressive, like as in like you're sprinting a lot and, you know, you're just running and gunning, in the average Last of Us Factions multiplayer lobby, you're not going to do as well as if you were being slow and methodical, what the game kind of wants you to be. You know what I'm saying? And I know, like, I think you have different opinions on that, but that's just how I feel, and I think that is a really great feature and kind of lets the player slow down and actually learn
and process.
And process.
No, I absolutely agree with you. Like I think I mentioned in a previous video that I did about talking about Battle Royale for The Last of Us, which we won't really talk about in this video, but and I mentioned how I understand the perspective of very slow paced and you just, you know, kind of like I guess strategizing on certain, you know, techniques and ways that you can counter your opponents. But just based off of the gameplay demo specifically, I feel as though Naughty Dog might be changing that aspect a little bit, just a tiny bit, because I think, like I mentioned, I think that's a huge criticism a lot of people have. But it's also something that a lot of people appreciated, is how slow paced and very well thought out each match gets, just based off of the fact that it's more slow paced.
Right.
And you know, as a player who's been playing the game for a while, I totally agree with that. I think it's a great multiplayer because of that. So I feel like if Naughty Dog really wants to change it, they can't change it too much, because then they might lose fans, right?
I think that's been the biggest difficulty, like leading up to this episode, is because like I've been playing Factions, you know, like I said, for about 2, 3, 4 months, whatever, and I'm really trying to think of like what they can do to improve or to change up things. And like, although I'm not gonna sit here and say that, you know, Factions is a perfect multiplayer, I'm sure there's issues with it, and you know, stuff like that, obviously, right? But it's pretty damn good right now, you know. Like, it is really polished, it's really refined, it's a really good mode, you know what I'm saying? I love it. I love it. I love the intensity it gets when, you know, usually I play supply raid. I know we played an interrogation mode a few days ago. I actually enjoyed that mode a lot. It's really fun.
That's one of my favorite modes. I don't know why I don't play it as often anymore, but recently I've gotten back to it, and oh my gosh, the intensity and just the chaos, the little pockets of chaos that happens in the match, obviously, because, you know, interrogations is something you need to get. By the way, if you don't know what interrogation is, it's basically you have to execute your opponents, and once you do, you get a bunch of intel, and once you reach about 5 or 6 interrogations, or quote unquote interrogations, they're executions basically, you get a lockbox spawned in the map, and you have to attack that lockbox, and once you do so successfully, you win the match.
Right.
So that's interrogation. But
and
no, that's a great mode.
And have you played Survivors? I haven't played that actually.
I have.
I have no idea
try
what.
that.
I have no idea what
Survivors
the
is
game
my
mode is.
least favorite, just because I'm not a huge. I've never been a fan of elimination unless I'm playing with like a full party or something.
Okay.
But yeah, it's elimination basically.
Yeah. So mainly I play supply. Like that's usually what I play in Last of Us Factions, and you know, it when it gets to those moments in the match where it's just 4v4 and no one has any more lives left, and the game could go either way. Like it could really go either way and end up you losing or you winning. Like I love that scenario. I love it. It is so intense. It's really like I don't know how to explain. Like it is just really fun. Like it's really intense and serious, and like it really does match the tone of Last of Us. And you know, I think probably my like biggest confusion, I guess I could say, is like the ranking, but now I kind of like it. Like I get it. So like just a preface here, right? So just so I make sure I know what I'm talking about. Your level, right?
Right.
So let's say right now I'm on level 9, right? I'm on 9, right? So that means that I have been playing Last of Us for 9 weeks.
Okay, so I remember a subscriber of mine, he mentioned how that's how it works out, but I actually survived a week and my rank never increased. So I'm like, okay, well clearly that's not necessarily how it works. So to be honest with you, man, I actually have no idea how the ranking system works.
Honestly,
it's crazy. I don't even know.
Yeah,
people say it's once you survive a week, but I don't think that's true.
That's what I've heard as well.
Yeah, so maybe it is, but I'm not too sure.
Honestly, I don't know, but I know right now I have 44 survivors. They're all healthy, no one hungry, no one sick, and I do think it's very interesting how like in the multiplayer, right? So like you need a specific amount of supplies to get per game to be able to, I believe, either stay at the level you're at or get more survivors.
So basically, you need a set of parts,
right?
Perhaps a surplus, like more than what you need, in order to keep up with the healthiness of your clan, or I'm not going to call them a clan. I'm going to call them a group. Your group of survivors. So if you get like, let's say you get like more, let's say you get 40 out of, you needed 20 per match, but you got 40, you have a surplus, right? Because you have 20 more supplies than is needed, which therefore translates to either more people joining your group,
right?
Or just it just keeps up the healthiness of the group.
Yeah. But just like what I like about it, right, is that like every time so before you go into a game in the lobby, it says, hey, you need, like for me, for example, right now it says I need 41 supplies, or the blue box is supplies, right? Like that's the terminology. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. So like I need 41 supplies, and you can get supplies off of dead bodies. You can get them from crafting items, and you get, I believe, 2 supplies off that. But it's generally speaking, when you do you know, kills and stuff like that in a given mode, right? Yeah. Experience, like you're doing things in the match, you will just randomly see those blue blimps on the floor and be able to pick them up to get supplies, right? So I need 41 of those. But every time you achieve that in a game, it goes up after every match you complete, right? So it's like so the game's like, all right, cool, like you can do that, top it next match, and you have to keep topping until you eventually don't, and then it brings it back down, and then you start losing people, getting sick, whatever, and that could be on a downhill trend, or it's just a really neat way of always like testing the player, always making them feel like you know, they have something to strive for, and objective based thing and stuff like that. I just think it's really neat how that's a part of the game. You know what I'm saying? I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. And the whole storyline about you running a camp and you're going out and doing these, you know, supply raids and stuff like that, and these missions to be able to get supplies for your camp. Like it's really very neatly woven in to the narrative of the world of Last of Us.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it.
So do you have any issues? Because I do have a list here written down.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
That
honestly, I'm gonna let you take the floor, because I feel like you are the most experienced in this, obviously, from you know, us two, and I definitely I'm still new to it. I have issues, you know, but I would rather you take the floor, my good sir. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Well, jump in whenever you feel like you need to. But before we leave this whole like clan and group situation, what I would like to see for part 2 is have some kind of like friend joining. So let's say you have like maybe almost like how it works in Red Dead Redemption 2, where you can join somebody's posse. I hope I didn't butcher the name there, but yeah, posse, where you can kind of join a friend's clan or maybe have a group or a community. And I don't know the limitations to that. Perhaps maybe you can have 10 to 15 people, and maybe there's like tournament based clans where you know, every, I don't know, once a month there's a tournament that's hosted, and perhaps there's like some kind of prize pool. I don't know, maybe not money, but customizations or something really cool, maybe a rank increase or something crazy like that, in terms of the whole group and clan stuff, because that would be really cool to see, right? You know, top clans and groups a month get to join, and not just the top, but you know, middle and below as well. So in terms of settings and options, we need better settings and options, because as opposed to Uncharted 4 has a huge array of settings and control options that you can switch out, from accessibility to brightness to sensitivity. And The Last of Us, no offense, I know it's an older game, so we have to be a little fair here, but the sensitivity is like, you put it up and it's like, it's not good enough in my opinion. Oh
my god,
I think another,
wait a
sorry
minute. I just noticed something really. So I was looking through the settings of Last of Us Part 2. I wish, sorry, Last of Us, my bad, I wish Part 2, Last of Us, and I didn't know that you can change to do it, have it run at 60.
Wait, what run at 60?
You can, I mean, I have a PS4 Pro. I don't know if you have PS4 Pro as well, but I was looking through the options while you were talking about it, and there's a PS4 Pro enhancement section where I can have it value frame rate over resolution. I'm definitely going to do frame rate. Wait a minute. That's hot.
That's pretty neat.
That's hot. But beside the point, yeah, I definitely feel like, you know, obviously the original Last of Us was released in 2013. I think the remaster was
2014.
It was 2014? I thought it was 2015. Okay.
Oh no, 20.
Was it?
Oh shoot.
It doesn't matter. It was after that. So I get, you know, I know now, like, the industry is definitely skewing towards having accessibility options be in there, something like that.
Sorry, not to cut you off. It was 2014 because that's when I got my PlayStation.
Yeah. So I'm sure we will see those accessibility changes and stuff like that. Because I will admit the options is pretty barren. It's pretty limited.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they'll you know, have that fixed. But I am going to try that 60 frames mode after this podcast. Ooh, it sounds like a
yes. So the second point I have here is better auditory design. Now I know this is something that I've kind of overlooked over the past years of my experience playing the multiplayer. And what I notice is when I'm walking, sometimes it genuinely sounds like there's an enemy behind me, and then I look back and it's just me, and I guess the weight of my character and his boots or shoes or whatever he's wearing. Right. It's the noise from that, but sometimes there is moments where I do hear enemies a little bit. So maybe it's my headphones, because I have a really good headphones. It's SteelSeries Article 5, I believe. And I've only really noticed that since I've gotten these headphones, but nonetheless, it's like the auditory design is a little odd to me, especially when I'm in multiplayer, which is, I mean, what we're talking about here. But you know, when there's callouts, it's like I'm not too sure if it's my team, you know, because obviously the dialogue in The Last of Us is incredible. When you mark somebody, automatically the person who marked that character shouts out, "Oh, there's a firefly nearby," or whatever, right? And but sometimes the you know, enemies do the exact same thing, so it kind of throws me off. Like, I'm not too sure if it's the enemy that's marked us or opposite, and sometimes it doesn't show. But like when we mark somebody, but it is our team that marked the enemy. So I don't know, the auditory design is just a little, it confuses me sometimes. Right. I see. Do you have anything to add there? Because I do have a little ways to go.
Yeah,
with
I mean,
here.
I'm trying to think. Is honestly, like, now that you say it, I don't think I've ever heard footsteps in Last of Us Factions, and really? I have Astro A50s, so they are pretty nice headsets. You know, same with your SteelSeries. We both have pretty high end headsets.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I paid a lot of money for this thing.
Yeah, mine was $300.
I don't know why I did that. Jeez.
My A50s
That's like
were
400 Canadian, dude.
But like,
Wow.
honestly, they are the Apple headsets of headphones. Like, they're so high quality. I love them to death. I love them. But you know, Astro, if you're trying to sponsor the show, was good. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, now that you say it, I don't think I recall ever hearing footsteps while I played Factions. So I mean, I think you got some
after this recording, if you want to play, I'm gonna jump on anyway.
Yeah,
test it out.
Gotta investigate that. But
yes, sir. But the next thing I have here is, and I'm gonna join two together. So one, more guns / new guns, which we're obviously gonna get.
Right.
But better customizations at that, because you know, The Last of Us has decent customizations, but if you compare that to Uncharted 4, listen, they did something really good with Uncharted 4, and that was customizations. There's so many items that you can unlock in Uncharted 4, from customizations to your guns and weapons. I don't know if they're going to do that for part 2, but wouldn't it be awesome? Let's say around a Christmas, there's like a Christmas DLC where you can customize your melee weapon. Anytime you pick up a melee weapon, you get like a jingle bell on it with some wrapping paper on that melee stick. That would be freaking amazing. I know it's a little silly and out of the realistic approach that they have for part 1, excuse me. But listen, Uncharted 4, I understand Uncharted 4 is a little bit more fun and whatnot, but they can do the same thing with The Last of Us, and maybe not give us the option to customize our guns necessarily, but and melee weapons. Although I think that would be cool, but just more in-depth customizations. Maybe allow us to do certain, you know, looks for our characters and stuff, as well as just, you know, items that you can unlock.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe even have like for Uncharted 4, every couple of matches, like when I was new to the game, you unlock different items. I never get any kind of new unlock in The Last of Us because, listen, I'm level 240 something. I survived all 9 journeys. There's not really much progress I can make else in this game, as opposed to Uncharted 4, where I'm only level 60 because it takes a long time to level up in that game, but I'm still earning different guns and stuff throughout the matches. So they can do that for The Last of Us, where just because I feel like after a certain rank, you get all the guns unlocked, customizations or whatever. I don't even touch customizations anymore in The Last of Us, and it feels kind of like pointless. But in a way, but because I love the gameplay, I'm obviously going to play it. You know what I mean? Right. And perhaps give us more incentivize us to reach that 999 level rank if they're going to do that for part 2, which I think they should. That's cool. You know, perhaps give us different types of journeys. Like I know in the part 1, there's only 2 journeys you can survive, right? There's the Firefly journey and what's the next one? The Hunter journey. Or yeah, so Survivors, and you get trophies for that. So maybe for part 2 they have the same thing. Maybe Hunter, Firefly, Seraphite, and you know, whatever else they can think of, and incentivize players to do that. Maybe you get an extra cool badge near your name, or you give us a trophy for completing that. Maybe a cool customization item like a hat or clothing to represent that, hey, we survived all of these different journeys. So they can do something to incentivize people to do that. Do you have any thoughts on those?
So in terms of the like seasonal type of events that like we see typically in other multiplayer games, like, you know, Fortnite, they do it, Apex, they do it, you know, PUBG, those like Call of Duty does as well, like Overwatch, you know, those like seasonal events, right? I think like I don't know I think if they want to retain the realism, I think like they would you know, probably like change up the cosmetic look of a map. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe if it's like a snowy, worn down town, maybe they throw up some lights on that, some Christmas trees. You know, like maybe like something so like that.
That's
you know,
sick.
if they don't want it to like be, not to say that it was tacky, but like I think for some people, you know, they would construe like if you're holding a, you know, a Christmas bell and whack me upside the head with it in Factions, like, you know, I think some people might agree. See that as like tacky, you know what I'm saying? And that would be something that would be much more akin to like an Uncharted, more playful, lighthearted type of mode, as opposed to like Factions, which like I think Factions, you know, is like we said before, like very much tied into the world of Last of Us, and they like make it a point that like they like make that a point, even though you can throw some, you know, cowboy hat slinger on your player and stuff like that. So like that's like a little bit more of the lightheartedness. So I could see like cosmetic items in that as well, considering that they did it for the first factions mode. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
But yeah. So just to cover that, you know, I think like if like they were to do it, it would be something a little bit more like subtle. You know what I'm saying? But also,
no, I like that idea.
But also, I like how you brought up one of the biggest issues I have with, I think, honestly, all Naughty Dog games, as far as I'm aware. I don't know about Uncharted 4 specifically because I forgot, but especially with Last of Us, right? What is it with literally them doing pay to win? Like, it's actually pay to win.
Okay.
Like there are actually more superior guns, more superior perks that you can purchase on the PS Store, and you cannot unlock them, as far as I'm aware, via the game. If I'm wrong on that, let me know. But
no, you're right. So that's an interesting point, because I actually was talking to a Naughty Dog employee about it. Rakusan, very, very, very great streamer.
Shout out to Rakusan. Shout out to him.
Yeah, so he's in the quality assurance team. I'm gonna touch on this very briefly, because before I messaged him, I was talking to another person who was kind of like arguing with me about how it's a pay to win system, and I don't necessarily agree 110% that it's a pay to win system, because I think there are ways to counter it. That being said, however, I do think that Naughty Dog, especially with The Last of Us, the first game, obviously, does have elements of pay-to-win systems. Uncharted 4, way less. There aren't much. I mean, there's guns in the game that you can go out of your way to buy it, because I don't think, from my understanding, you can unlock it unless you can. But they're not really overpowered guns. Like, when people use it, I'll just pull out, like, it's way easy to counter it in Uncharted 4, as opposed to The Last of Us, where you have the tactical shotgun or the crossbow or some of the weapons. I've bought a couple of the weapons in the game because, listen, I mean, I love Naughty Dog, so I wanted to support them. I wanted to play some of these different guns. I bought the variable rifle, wasted my money because I
would you like me to go over the guns that are for purchase? Real quick,
sure.
I haven't pulled it. Okay, so the tactical shotgun, which I've been killed by multiple times.
I've bought that.
Tactical shotgun is, you have to purchase it. The frontier rifle, you have to purchase it. I've been killed with that a lot of times. The scoped semi-automatic, I'll let that one kind of slide. It's just a scoped version of the semi-auto. Not that big of an advantage, but okay. The scoped full auto, okay. You know, don't know why you're charging me just with the scope on an existing rifle, but okay.
Yeah.
Scoped burst, same type of concept. There's already a burst rifle that's already installed in the game. There's a scope on it, and the variable rifle is another one that I don't believe. Well. Yeah, so those I know.
And the crossbow.
I actually have the bow unlocked. I have the bow unlocked.
Oh, you unlocked? Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think the bow is for everyone. Yeah. Even though I've been killed a lot of times.
Sorry, the crossbow. There's like another.
Is that a special weapon on the bottom?
Yeah.
Is it a purchasable? Oh, so let's go. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's go over all of them. So the purchasable, a double barrel shotgun. There's the Spectre, which is a silenced fully automatic rifle that kills from the shells in 6 shots. A launcher, and then there is the crossbow indeed on the bottom.
Yeah,
for purchase as well.
Yeah, I bought a lot of the stuff in this game.
And then there's a bunch of perks too that. I'll just read these. Oh wait, actually, there's a lot.
I think there's second chance or something like that.
Here, let me just run through these real quick. So there's Executioner, earn double the parts for shiv kills. Scavenger, enemies drop 50% more ammo. Damage marker, any damage dealt marks the target who receives the damage. Awareness, enemy name tags remain on screen for 5 seconds when you take damage. Gunslinger, bleed out time is increased by 25%. Slightly increased down crawling speed and earn 25 parts after healing more than half health. Gunslinger, pistol ammo is increased by 50% at spawn. This does not stack with weapon upgrades. Bomb expert, bomb expert. Smoke bombs have a very short fuse. Agility, crouch walk very quickly. See, like that's straight up like an advantage. You know what I'm saying? Lone Wolf activates.
No, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
I bought that as well. Lone Wolf
activates when you are far from your teammates. When Lone Wolf is active, you get agility 2, sharpshooter 2, and then 30 bonus parts. Second chance, get a free health kit when you have none. Jack of all trades, which is like a bundle, which you can get brawler.
I bought that as well.
Yeah, brawler, covert training, sharp ears, strategist, crafter, and stuff like that. Lucky break, 50% more ammo, and then the last one is lethal efficiency. Do a faster load to the ground next snap and when performing. Oh, you could do a faster execution. Interesting.
Yeah, so like I haven't bought that though.
I mean, a lot of these are indeed clear advantages that I, as a as someone that has not bought any of these, clearly does not have. Right.
No.
And like
I see the perspective.
yeah, and like I totally understand that, like, you know, obviously Last of Us was released in 2013, and there was a very much of a different stigma behind things like this. I remember there was outrage, but like it wasn't as pronounced. I feel like if this game were to drop today with these type of you know, pay to win tactics and stuff like that.
Right.
So I mean, like, I guess a way to alleviate it is, like, I mean, if you really want to keep doing this, I would suggest maybe like a season pass and just let season pass holders get all the content no matter what. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like then again, that's a whole nother rabbit hole that I don't even know, you know, should everything that goes down. And I understand Naughty Dog is a business, so like nonetheless, you know, they still want to make that bottom line, still want to make that profit. You know what I'm saying? So.
But yeah, just to finish off on that aspect, or that topic, I do think it's a little pay to win, but I do think there are ways to counter it, especially depending on the person's skill. The guy was using a tactical shotgun against me, and I used the cover of the bus between the distance of which him and I were at, and I mean, I downed him. I mean, I died from his teammate that was nearby, but still, I did down him effectively. Despite him using the tactical shotgun. So there are ways to counter it. But
absolutely, of course. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like, it's not like you like buy one of the guns and you're instantly a god in factions. Like, you know, obviously
that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Like, obviously, I didn't mean to put that on and like, act like that was my. But yeah, I know that's not what you meant, but just covering bases. Yeah, but and like I know, like, you know, any, you know, bottom line, if you're a skilled player and you don't buy anything, you will still most likely, you know, outskill an opponent that, even though if they have one of these, you know, pay to win, you know, type of things that you purchase, you may still be able to, you know, outthink the other player most times rather than none. You know what I'm saying? So either way, I totally get that. But I just feel like, you know, I would like for them to kind of like alleviate that, and hopefully not that be a big thing, because I feel like that could be a lot of issues, you know, leading up, you know, to the release of the game and stuff like that. And I think that could really affect it negatively, have like a negative stigma, you know, in terms of content in the game. You know what I'm saying? And it just feels like,
yeah, I agree.
And it like just like kind of feels like cheap in a way. I don't know. Like that, you know. So then I guess, like, going on from that, you know, what I think you said you had two other points that you want to bring up. Suppose like regarding factions.
Yeah, I do. So the second final point that I had here was, please reintroduce maps from part 1. I think that'll be cool, because they didn't do that for. I mean, they did one map from Uncharted 4, or for Uncharted 4, which was Village. And I don't understand why, because I don't know if that was a public, like a public favorite. But I mean, I guess it was from Uncharted 2, which was cool. But I know for a fact that was the first map that I played on in any Uncharted multiplayer game, which was Uncharted 3, which was great. But yeah, I think they should reintroduce certain maps, very popular maps from part 1, like, I don't know, Checkpoint, perhaps, Bookstore, maybe. I think Bookstore would be cool to bring back. Perhaps Lakeside. Lakeside's a very, very, very OG. So yeah, do something like that.
I like the Dam map. I like Dam.
Oh yes, that's
Dam
definitely
is a really
favorite.
And honestly, there are actually, now that you think about it, you know, now that I think about it now, like it's really hard to find a map that I don't enjoy in factions. I know there are a few that I particularly
even downtown.
Don't like.
Yeah, I'm joking.
Oh wait, no, downtown's a trash map. No, that one's not good.
I mean, I don't mind it. It's just I'm not a huge fan of the dark setting too much. Like, I like Hometown, but if it was a little lighter, I would probably appreciate it a little more, because I don't like dark.
Yeah, no, downtown's some trash. I like the school one. I forgot.
Oh, high school. Oh, yeah,
high school is nice. Yeah, there's a lot of really well refined maps, and like, honestly, it's really impressive. Like, when you think about, because like when you think of, you know, it's just impressive how like they came up with, I don't even know how to describe their style of map design, but in a similar vein to Call of Duty's 3-lane map design, where like they have like their signature, like, all right, COD maps traditionally, you know, a well-rounded, you know, well-played, really good Call of Duty map has that 3-lane design to it, right?
Bro,
where
we we need to take a moment to just appreciate the map design. It's
That's what
fantastic.
I'm saying. Like
Each map is great.
I don't even
Honestly,
know.
you're right.
I don't even know how to describe the type of maps that Factions has, but they are really well balanced, really well good. You know, it's hard to come by a power position in a map that makes it, you know, a bit unfair. And I'm sure they exist. I'm sure there's some that are out there, but yeah,
I don't believe in the whole concept of camping because I don't necessarily think there is, unless you play a certain game mode like interrogations. Yeah, like what a lot of people do is they you know, they kind of farm it.
Right.
So in that way, I guess it's camping. But other than that, there's not really any stuff like that happens in the multiplayer, or at least from what I've experienced.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. What were your other points?
My last and final point is, yeah, I guess it would be, is new game modes.
I was about to bring up,
also bring back, you know, interrogation and supply rate and survivors. But as far as the new game modes go, I'm not, you know, I would like to see battle royale, but that's not the game mode I really want to see. What I really want to see is capture the flag. And I guess, you know, people would be like, well, you know, it's a little like interrogations, but not really. Interrogations is its own unique thing. Capture the flag, have some kind of, you know, I don't know, Firefly versus Hunter versus Seraphite, maybe different three team capture the flag kind of thing.
Right.
Maybe 3 teams of 4, so you know, you have like 12 people on the map, which would be amazing, and you get certain points for, you know, and just have like a capture the flag kind of map where it's literally, you know, after you capture a certain person's flag, it spawns somewhere else, and you keep the flow going. And next thing I want for multiplayer, for part 2's multiplayer, is a ranked kind of multiplayer. So I want there to be a divide. I want there to be like standard multiplayer with your standard and quote unquote casual players, not necessarily, but then also have like a ranked game mode. Perhaps something called an advanced supply raid or advanced TDM,
right?
Which basically has some kind of, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking maybe you get, the objective isn't necessarily to get kills, but it's also to protect a certain layer of the map. So there's certain areas in all of the part 1's maps where there's, it almost looks like you can enter that area. It almost looks like, wow, imagine clickers bursted through this area. So almost like that, and have it where for each kill you get a bunch of fortify points, and what you do is you use those fortify points to, well, fortify a wall, to barricade the wall, or certain areas in the map. And you know, you get a mini map. That would be cool to have a mini map in The Last of Us. That would be wicked. A mini map where it actually
shows,
you know,
the actual map layout, where,
because there is a mini map, but it's not necessarily.
Yeah, it's like more of like a awareness thing. I don't even know how you would even describe it, but yeah, like it's not technically a mini map, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
So have something like that, and you use for every kill you get, or for everything you do in this ranked TDM, ranked supply rate, or advanced rank, whatever you want to call it, is you get points for it. And the more points you stack up, obviously the higher rank, but also just have your regular competitive stuff. What I really want is a separate between ranked and standard, because, and you know what game does this very, very well? Overwatch. Overwatch does it so well. You can tell, like, as soon as you go to competitive, the music changes, just the layout and the scoreboard option changes. You really look like you're playing in a competitive arena tournament. So do something like that for The Last of Us. And obviously it has to be realistic. It can't be all colorful and fruity like Overwatch, because Overwatch is a different game. It's not brutal and violent as opposed to The Last of Us, right? And obviously part 2 looks a little bit more brutal and violent, but have something like a ranked, like you can really tell that it's ranked.
Right.
Perhaps, I don't know, maybe you have a season every month, like Uncharted 4 did, and you know, customizations. Perhaps maybe a new map once. I don't know. A new map every month sounds a little too much, but maybe different music and a different aesthetic, for the scoreboard, or something. You know, something just unique for ranked.
Right.
Because Uncharted 4 didn't do nothing special for ranked. I mean, you got different customizations once you reach a certain, I guess, tier for ranked, but it didn't do anything special necessarily. So I want something special like what Overwatch does.
Right. I mean, like for me, in terms of gameplay, I mean, not gameplay. Game modes. Was I gonna say. I think it would be interesting because I was gonna bring this up too, like during our discussion, was that I would like to see like clickers or infected somehow be a part of factions. Not sure how I want them implemented. Obviously, there is a clear idea for Battle Royale, which we'll talk about in another episode. But I feel like there's a way, or maybe even like the infected nests. You know what I'm saying? Where bloaters get created, something like that. You know, and like I know a lot of those ideas I have are have been really manifested in terms of like a Battle Royale mode. But I feel like there could be elements that could be brought in from those ideas to a factions game mode. I'm not sure what that looks like. You know what I'm saying? Not sure how that actually plays out. But I would like to see like some sort of just I guess more game modes. Even though, but I just like supply rate. Like it's just
I know.
So I mean like, but then again, I'm sure they have. And then also, you brought up what was your second point that you brought up here in this long thing?
Capture. Ranked or capture the flag?
Ranked, thank you. Ranked, yeah. Ranked is interesting because to me, right, I feel like Last of Us Factions mode in essence is just a rank mode.
Right.
It is so competitive.
I know.
It is so unwavering. It doesn't hold your hand.
That's why it's so brilliant.
Yeah. So it's like, man, like if you, because like we were talking to another friend of PlayStation Source, to real Deathly Hollows, aka Billy. You know what I'm saying? I hate his name, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? He was on a few E3 streams that we did, and has been on a few podcasts here and there. But he was saying that he tried it and he wasn't liking it. And I'm like, I also had that same opinion, right? But it's really when you sit down and really just there's a learning curve that you gotta just do. You gotta you're gonna not be good. You know what I'm saying? And it's you're gonna think it's trash, but if you sit down and just dedicate that time, it is great. It is a magnificent game mode. Factions is amazing. I absolutely love it. You know what I'm saying? And I think I'm trying to think about, so like customization. Obviously, they can improve on customization, add more skins, add more hats.
We forgot one more thing.
What was the thing? I was just
survival.
That quickly. Survival.
Yeah, like almost like what Uncharted, because everyone, I mean not everyone, but a lot of people kind of wanted to see some kind of like survival game mode.
Are we talking like a co-op mode?
Yeah, almost like a co-op mode. Like Uncharted 3 had so many of them. Great, like it mixed story with gameplay. It was so amazing. Uncharted 4 had none of that. All it had was a survival mode where you're killing NPCs, and it was cool, but it wasn't nearly as thought out and fleshed and quality based as Uncharted 3's. That's why I like Uncharted 3's multiplayer so much. But yeah, maybe like a little survival kind of game. I don't know how it would work necessarily. 4 players seems like a lot, but you have maybe different kind of skill, so different like skill classes, so you don't all have the same shotgun or stuff. Because with Uncharted 4, they had a lot of that where there was just certain things that you can kind of exploit some of the elements. Like in Uncharted 4, there's like those survival bosses. I forget what it was called. Henry, I don't know if it was like one of those like pirate looking things that could flash back and forth. Right. Have you ever played survival?
I have not.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I have not.
So you wouldn't know what I'm talking about, but anyhow, there's like there's a mystical Uncharted 4, the Indra's Eternity, and you can use that to slow down its movement, and then it kind of exploits. I wouldn't say it exploits.
I remember that power up. I remember that.
Yeah, so it's almost like an abuse, I guess. Okay, maybe have certain things where you only pick one out of, and there's 4 classes. You have a support class, a medic class, a brute class, and whatever else. And those class, they have different guns and different techniques that you can use to power up yourself and make sure that you survive all ways of clickers and bloaters, etc.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
so I think that'd be cool.
To kind of like have an ending touch base. Like I think it's a very interesting idea to have some sort of like survival co-op mode. I totally didn't think of that, but like that could totally work. You know what I'm saying? Like let's say you're you're on a supply, like let's just build it into the lore of like factions, right? You go on a supply raid, you win the match, everything's all good, you know what I'm saying? And then like let's say like the like storyline for going into a co-op survival mode type of game mode, and this is not directly following a supply raid. It would be like an explanation as to why you would be in the scenario, right? Okay, so like you're done from doing like interrogation or a supply raid or another game mode, and you're on your way back to camp. You get held up, you get stuck, a bunch of infected, cool. You know what I'm saying? You fight your way out, and like you maybe like have to progress through the map, you know what I'm saying? You're gathering parts, stuff like that. Yeah. I think like that could be really fun, you know, and maybe that could also contribute to your overall ranking in factions, perhaps, you know what I'm saying? Even though that may not be the case, because like why would you get ranked on battling AI as opposed to like actual players that you actually have to do in, you know, real game modes? Not that co-op is not,
but maybe a challenge, mode, but maybe different challenges and stuff. Yeah, that sounds like that. Pretty unique.
That sounds cool. Yeah, just off the top of my head. But is there anything else you would like to address about good old Last of Us factions?
I had one more game mode in mind, but I forgot what it was. So no, unfortunately.
Hate to hear it.
I know, because I love talking about multiplayer games.
Yeah, no, I mean, like for me, honestly, I feel the Last of Us factions is like really, really close to perfect. Obviously, we talked about what we want to improve and stuff like that, but make sure to let us know what you would like changed down below in the comment section. What are your ideas? What are your thoughts? What do you want to see in factions for Last of Us Part 2? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And good old Starks, where can the people here following and listening to us find you?
Everyone who's probably not, but if you are listening still, appreciate it. You can follow me on YouTube at the Starks. I don't know if I'll probably be in the comment section below, so you can like press on my channel name. But other than that, Twitter, if you'd like to hear my opinions and see some gameplay stuff, as well as Instagram. I haven't been promoting my Instagram much, but I do post things whenever I can on there as well. So yeah.
Deal. And you can find me, of course, at my personal Twitter at the KDiaz123. Wow. At the KDiaz123. You can follow me on there as well as here, of course, on youtube.com/PlayStation. You can follow us on here. I'm posting frequently stuff like that for the channel. And you know, if you enjoyed this series and want to hear our other content, we have Cross Circle Podcast on Mondays. This goes up on Wednesdays on the channel, and then on Fridays we have the Save Slot Weekly News Series, where we go over all of the first party and third party news revolving around PlayStation. And make sure to also leave us your thoughts on any future episodes you want covered in terms of Last of Us Part 2 on Road to Part 2 series that goes live every Wednesday here on podcast services and youtube.com/PlayStation Source. Make sure to go subscribe to Starks, he the homie. Make sure to go join the Discord and Twitter down below in the description. Thank you for watching, and as always,
PlayStation awaits.
It's greatness.
I'm joking. Sorry, greatness awaits.
Jeez. Oh man. Guys, what am I gonna do? You're fired. You're fired.